Don't forget to suck some titties.
Government shutdown. Didn't happen. What does it mean? Not much of anything. I think during my lifetime, there's been a few, but the impact wasn't really all that important. You know what you realize? And by the way, they passed a bill to make sure that the shutdown didn't happen, which is fascinating to me because, look, I don't get into politics. But one thing that does bother me about politics is I guess there was one person on the Democratic side. It was some guy. He chose against the government shutting down, so he chose for, temporary funding or whatever. And that dude is being viewed as a betrayal artist, as a person that's betraying his party. And I think it shines a light on something bigger. And no, I'm not wearing red because I'm Republican by any means. I'm non-political affiliated because I think it's honestly a waste of time to sit here and get mad or worry about shit that honestly really doesn't affect most of us at the end of the day. Your day-to-day life is very little impacted for the most part based on who's president, this law or that law. At the end of the day, you got bills to pay, you got family to feed, and you got dogs to breed. But, what's crazy is that someone who goes against the grain should be celebrated in a way. I wouldn't even say celebrated, but it should be applauded. Like, hey, you know what? You got to take each individual issue outside of your own self-interest. And that's what politics is really mostly about, is self-interest. And that's why I don't understand why people really get too wound up in these campaigns and to what these people tell you, because they do not care about you. And why should they? If I had insider trading, I'll be whatever party you want me to be. Because at the end of the day, what they all want is greed and for themselves. Don't let what one party tells you think that they care about the greater, average person. They care about the average person getting more so they can get more. It's all about favoritism. It's all about building a quote-unquote audience. You really look at politics is really, if you want to build a strong YouTube following, you got to follow politics. And I don't mean you have to talk about politics, but you got to understand the mentality of what a campaign is to get a bunch of like-minded people to create a following about you that is blind, that doesn't see your faults necessarily, or they rationalize your faults because of a greater thing you stand for, even if all those faults of yours are actually a grander issue to what you say you're about. It got me, because I came across, I swear, it ties into something. I am going off completely unprepared this episode. I'm not going to lie to you. I just haven't recorded in a while. I've been pretty blank-minded. Sometimes I'm not really thinking about too much. I'm not really trying to delve into too much, but so there's a YouTuber named Deaf Noodles. You're probably like, politics is Deaf Noodles? Trust me, it's going somewhere. Let these sodium clog your arteries. This guy was chastised years ago. Was basically, I think he lost 99% of his fans. He had, I think, millions of subscribers. And literally, I don't know if he created a new channel, but it was embarrassing to the point where he embarrassed himself on the internet so bad that he has a new channel now or whatever. He came back to the internet a little while ago. And he has grifted to being a quote-unquote conservative. And I'm not someone that, people change their opinions over time. I don't get too caught up about it. But when it's obvious that you are just regurgitating things, you change your image, you change what everything you talk about now is about being pro this, pro Trump, or pro whatever you're pro. it's like, all right, man, what you're trying to do is you were trying to get an audience that kind of has a blind love, that unconditional blind love for things, and almost the more rational you are, the stronger your fan base is. And it's obviously, that's what, like, if you go on the internet and basically you are pro this, you are going to get people on your side just based off a simple belief of who you voted for. When I watch and listen to stuff that's not political related, but I know where their alliances are, where they're leaning, quote unquote, against, but it does not affect me one bit in what I get from that person. Now, if people just start going off the wagon and, you know, it's like, all right, but you have a choice to just be like, you know what, I'm good. Anyone that's willing to go too deep down this rabbit hole is not really my type of entertainment. It's not really my type of figure that I want to be a part of. But in what he's doing, to me, it's really just out of the handbook of creating an irrational fan base. You are not even getting a fan base because of your original thought, your creativity, your actual thoughts, or, you know, what you actually stand for. It is just because you want to make people feel like they're a part of something, that they're a part of something, but then you're like just another voice that speaks out of the ass about it. And he went from being like this person that does these, you know, I think he used to do like, you know, YouTube news and stuff like that, and like general current events, and do like a little news thing, kind of like Philip DeFranco does. And because he tried to do like some failed comedy show where he got destroyed and was publicly flamed from like penguins and stuff like that, now it's, you were trying to go a safe route where you have a security blanket of, yeah, there's going to be people against this, but no matter who I am or my past, if I just say this is what I'm for, people will, you know, be on my side about it, regardless of their personal beliefs about my corniness and grifting and what I'm trying to do. That's why politics, to me, it exposes the most people just wanting to be liked. If you want to be liked or disliked, just go out there and speak your political beliefs. And that's why I don't really have political beliefs. And people say, oh, if you don't stand for nothing, you fall for anything. It's like, no, I stand for stuff. But I don't let I don't let an individual decide whether I am for or against something. Sure, you should always listen for new reasoning, rationalization, all that stuff. You should be open-minded to change. But some people just change their beliefs and thoughts for their convenience of, like, you know, there's videos out there of J.D. Vance, the VP for Trump, who said back in 2016, Trump is a fraud, he's a liar, this and that. And then next thing you know, here he is, you know. Now, you could take that like, oh, people change. People see like what happened. Like, it was so bad what happened before and between Trump's two presidencies that we see that it made people change that much. It's like, all right, if your spouse, you know, if your partner cheats on you, has a baby with a whole nother man, is that going to make you completely hate women and just start taking up the ass of self-hatred? I don't know. I'm not here to judge. I know that's comparing apples to bananas. But it's Donkey Kong, baby. Taking Super Smash Bros. To a whole new level. There it is. I had to sneak a butt joke in there. But to me, the Deaf Noodles situation where, like, I don't care that he's fallen off. Like, I don't get too mad. Like, I'm not going to sit there and comment on someone like, oh, dude, you fell off. Like, this is just sad and stuff. But I'm watching it, And it's pretty obvious what the intent here. Because I don't really feel like he's developed a full sense of his beliefs. He's riding a train to a fan base again. And I get it, when you've had a fan base, not that I can relate to it, but when you've had a fan base and you're used to just having a parade of people back you for what you do, and then you lose it all. Honestly, I think you crave more of getting a fan base again, regardless of what it is you have to do to get a fan base. You kind of throw out, I wouldn't say your morals. Maybe he does believe in this right-wing stuff. I don't know. I think he also is, if he felt at this point in time being on the other side would get him more of a fan base, I think he would do that too. I also think it's a re-imaging, rebranding, and I hate that term. But it's obviously like you basically got cucked off your, comedy stuff and got embarrassed by the internet for being susceptible, vulnerable, being embarrassed at something you're supposed to be good at. So you try to change your image to be kind of hardened, to be someone who's more firm, someone who has more conservative values type of thing. Because maybe you felt like being on the other side betrayed you. And betrayal will make people do a lot of things that are out of character or whatever to be likable again. When you were so disliked by the internet, I can relate. I'll be honest though, I had a clip I put out recently. And it was flamed. I know you guys can't see the dislikes, but I promise you, it was bad. I read the comment. People had points, but I'm like, I'm not going to get too mad. You know what? Everyone's entitled to what they... I didn't go back and forth trying to rationalize them up. I said what I said. I'm cool with it. And that's the nature of the game when you put stuff out in public. You can't sit there and... It would be, I don't see the point of hiding comments, blocking comments, unless it's bots and shit, or people trying to promote and sell sketchy shit. But someone having a comment that goes against, because you want a positive, quote unquote, aura of your channel and stuff. It's sometimes if you're going to say things that are controversial, if you're going to say things that go against the grain, and that, hey, this may rub people the wrong way. You got to be cool with the fact that you may rub people the wrong way. And look, YouTube is definitely more of a left-leaning thing because you could see likes and dislikes based off X, Y, and Z. You get when you are going against something, you are going to get a strong pro or con. Very rarely is it balanced to criticism. And I had that recently. And, then I come across Def Noodles situation. I'm like, The difference is, to me, it's, hey, you just keep pushing. Keep putting out what you believe in. And be cool with that. I will never change an opinion just because I feel like it's going to give me a bigger fan base. You can change your opinion because, maybe it's I took a misdirection that way. Or I changed my opinion because, I just generally have changed as a person. Maybe you said something and you're like, I didn't really display what I was trying to say as well. Maybe it doesn't mean that what I thought my true sentiment is false, but maybe I didn't really go deeper into what I'm trying to say. But regardless, to appease to fans or comments or there's a lot of negativity out there. And I think it does scare people from a lot of people's hesitancy of wanting to do stuff in media like podcasting or YouTube or whatever is no one wants to be disliked. Even if they put out stuff that goes against, normal status quo, even they know they're going to put out opinion, they don't want to be disliked. They want their fan base to be people that are just like them. And they don't want pushback. People want to have a like to dislike ratio be 99% to 1. You might put out some stuff and it's 50-50. And, anytime you have that type of extreme backlash, I think what you should do is take a step back and be like, damn, did I put out what I wanted to? And this is just, hey, that's what I think. I'm not mad at anyone that has contrarian views. Because I know if you put something out there, you got to be okay with people not liking it. And that's okay with me. And if you are going to do something like this, you have to be okay with that. And so for Def Noodle specifically, it feels like he's trying so hard to want to be liked again that you have to kind of find a rabid fan base. And right now, that is where the extremism, the rabid fan base is. Regardless of what your political beliefs are, you can't deny that right now, politics, whether you do one side, the left or the right, and I hate that terminology, but it is what it is. When you live your life based off people believing or having your same common of political beliefs, it's a very limited, to me personally, I think it's a very sad way to live. And it really, I'm not saying have a kid with someone that's pro this and you're anti, X, Y, and Z. But at the same time, you got to weigh out. Does someone believe in this one thing? Is it really going to come up in your life? I don't know. May or may not, depend on. Are you going to divorce your spouse because they believe the government shouldn't get extra funding? You think they should? And you think they should? I don't know. It seems a bit extreme. So yeah, for me personally, I think it's like, if you're going to put stuff out there, be okay with the backlash, live with the result, and keep it moving. That's just my personal belief. But yeah, welcome to episode 332. I don't know what that whole fucking open monologue was for. I literally just freeballed that shit, so take it for what it's worth. Welcome to episode 332, the Offbeat Podcast with Clint Nelson. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Most part, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to suck some titties. Drinking Rise. Yeah, Sunny D. I gotta say, I had an experience today, and it kind of hit me. It wasn't a crazy experience. It was a status quo. And it reminded me the importance of just great customer service. And I think it's something we take for granted these days. I go to a vitamin shop. It's basically a supplement nutrition store. They have, protein shakes, supplements, pills, creatine, pre-workout, the good basically a GNC type of store, but in my opinion, a little bit better, more fair price, X, Y, and Z, but basically a GNC version. And I go here, I'm a regular customer here. Like, I probably go once a month to restock on, my stuff, my stack, my stack that's completely not working. Because of my diet and my habits. No, the supplements are fine. It's me. But I went there today. Very lovely lady. She's probably like middle age. And, I go in there. She was working with a customer. Hey, just let you know, she laid out, they lay out whatever deals they got going on. Buy one, get one half off, blah, blah, blah. I went in there to get one thing. I was going to get my one pre-workout, $30 or less. I'm on a budget. I'm not going to get any creatine, whatever. I'm going to just get what I need right now. I need to be safe. But she laid out, and she comes over to me, and she knows I know what I'm looking for, but I like to change it up. I was like, hey, what were the buy one, get one halves off? She goes through the thing again. And so she laid it out, and I was like, There were no signs for the buy one, get one half off, because her just reminder of, hey, buy one, get one half off this. You're a regular customer. I want to make sure you get everything you need and all that stuff. And so I end up getting 2 pre-workouts because my rationalization was like, well, when are they going to have this deal again? Get one for 30, get another for 15. Boom. Won't have to worry about for a couple months. Cool. And then they had these $1 C-Bum drinks. I was like, yeah, let me grab a couple, I always get the $1 drinks, have a little extra energy drinks just for when I do my pods, X, Y, and Z, no one gives a shit. And she's like, yeah, I grabbed 4. And she's like, you can get 6, maximum of 6. So like, come on, just go. And I was like, damn, she got me. I got another 2. But then she applied my points. I got money off, whatever. It was still for everything I got, really good deal today. But as I'm like in real time, I think some, especially people my general, like people, someone my age, I would not expect. I'm going to be honest. Like my expectations for, people around my age, their late 20s, even early to mid 30s, I would not expect that great customer service. It wasn't that she upsold me. I know she upsold me. But one, you could tell she's passionate and she cares about what she does. She cares about you getting everything you need to do. Everything you want. Maybe introducing you to something to sell more. But it was just her energy, how much she cares. Like, she works there and every other time it's an influx of different employees. But she's a consistent staple. She's always like, she knows everything ins and outs about the supplements, what they got coming in. She does like all the paperwork. She doesn't own the place. She may be a manager. I don't know. But I've been to other vitamin shops. It's typically, just people that are working there just to work there. They'll help you if you ask them. And they typically don't know anything about stuff here. But she knows her stuff. You definitely tell, and I overheard her. She was talking with another customer who comes in regular, I guess. She has a close relationship with regulars. And she was sitting there showing her pictures of, like, her daughter playing t-ball the previous day, making contact, like, going through it. And you tell she just cares. And something that, a lot of times I'll admit, I think customer service, it's important, but like I can work without the greatest customer service. I'm not someone that expects people to treat me like royalty, but I do expect like, hey, just don't make my life miserable about it if you're going to try to push something on me. And just like try to accommodate me. I'm cool. I'm pretty low maintenance when it comes to that. And I think like recent places I've been to that should apply customer service. It's fucked up, that my standard has become so low that just someone doing that is like this extraordinary thing when really there are people that expect that everywhere they go. And then they're sorely disappointed. They say, oh, kids weren't raised right, all this stuff. And I get it. But, I do think it's an age thing where customer service is given and expected. And I think because maybe my standards are lower for customer service, that's why there's no action to it. So when I do get that extraordinary customer service, I'm like, fuck. Like, if I could tip you, like these, like, I'm gonna be honest, I would rather tip at a place like that, even though I'm spending the bag, places like that where it is very hard to upsell someone, like that's a place where there should be tips involved. And I'm not like where legitimately you tip the individual where it's allowed, because I know she's not getting paid great money. I mean, I highly, highly doubt it. That's a place where really it is. I think those places are more paramount for how much a store sells, because I can go to any vitamin shop. And here's what I was saying, like, I can go to any vitamin shop, the 3 or 4 locations within a 20-mile radius. What's more convenient? And I could go to any vitamin shop, get the same shit. Use my same discount, whatever. But I enjoy going there because I think it's just intuitively, it's just like, I know I'm going to get great customer service. And customer service is kind of a dying breed because there's a lot of entitlement behind it. We do need to do better as customers to be better customers too. As much, and this is going to be like a new generational opinion. Like, if you want great customer service, you need to be a great customer. That doesn't mean being better than the person that's serving you. Like, there's a minimum standard both ways. But someone can only help you as much as you're willing to give information out to be helped. If you go to return something, do you have a receipt? It's like, nah, I don't need to bring a receipt. It's like, so you're just starting off trying to be difficult. Now I'll be like, hey, like, yeah, I didn't have the receipt. I didn't have time to get it. I couldn't find it, but I have it on my account, blah, blah, blah. Like, I got you. Look, like, nah, I don't need to bring it. It's like, you don't need to bring it, but it's a little bit easier if you do, And, yeah, a lot of these places fuck up your shit. People fuck up your orders. People mess up the prices. I get it. But I think we're giving customer service as customers. We're not looking in the right places of where it's actually happening. Like, you go to a Walmart, a Target, a retail place. They don't get any extra money for upselling. You're going to go there, and you're going to get what you're going to get anyways. They're just there to help you find the shit. Like, no. Like, self-checkout, whatever. I'm not tipping. All right? You're scanning my stuff. I get it. Cool. But that's not, someone goes out of the way to help a person. That's great. But a place to where people are very hesitant to, like, it's a look around place where people are coming in here out of curiosity more than a lot of times knowing what they're going to get. People go into Vitamin Shop, a place like that, and they're probably just getting one thing. They're probably getting protein powder. They're probably getting pre-workout if it's a gym bro. But to be able to upsell and be like, hey, you know what? We got these specials for these drinks. Hey, she didn't have to tell me about it, but she did. Because that loyalty aspect. There is great customer service out here. You just got to really appreciate it when it happens and engage. Show that person that customer service was not only appreciative, but you're like, that right there is a reason why I come back here when I could go anywhere else. That's the thing with these smaller franchise places. It's like, I can go to any location and get the same shit. Right? If you have a coffee, like, let's say you enjoy a Starbucks or a Dunkin', in my case. There are closer Dunkins. There's like 2 or 3 Dunkins I go that I could sit at and work at. But I choose this one because it's well run, consistency. They always make my drinks right. And you're all charging out of the ass. I might as well go to the fucking place that makes it right. Like, if it was still cheaper, I'd probably be a little bit like, whatever. But if I'm going to pay a premium for what I'm getting, all I ask is make sure you maximize what I'm paying for. Show excellent customer service. And that I enjoy consistency in a place. I know everyone wants when I see heavy turnover in a place, that's a red flag to me. It's over time, it can be masked, but it's going to create inconsistency. So you got to appreciate customer service when you get it, because otherwise, those people in those positions are not going to work there too much longer. Because if people are giving out great service, if you're constantly putting yourself vulnerable out there, trying to tell everyone all the great things your place has to offer, regardless if it's your business or not, it's a reflection of how much that person cares of making this person's experience to keep coming back here, which is going to continuously make that Vitamin Shop more money. I guarantee I don't even have to look in the numbers. I guarantee if all the vitamin shops within a 30-mile radius, I guarantee they probably have the highest sales. And you could tell that pretty instantly. I will drive within a reasonable distance most time for something that I know if I may pass 2 or 3 locations of the same thing. If I know that the one I'm going to, if it's something worth driving out for, if I'm going to spend my time and money for something, I might as well make sure I get it right. I will spend a little extra to go to a place that is well run, great customer service. It goes a long way. I just wanted to give a shout out to that. Because it got me thinking, like, how low have standards gotten from people my age? That we just kind of, that it's two on opposite spectrums. It's either people are too reserved with themselves, that even when they are being controlled by the employee, where they're waiting in line somewhere and you can tell the employee's not really being attentive. They're not even being transparent, like, hey, it's going to be a minute. And there's like, I'll get to you when I get to you. Like, you have a choice about, you know what, I'm good. I like this extraness of what's going on here. I could just go to a different place. I've done it. I done it in recent memory. I was waiting. I went to just pick up something quick to eat. I'm not going to name the place. Del Taco. I was waiting at the register. And look, you walk into a place, they've been dead for a while, or it's during like early part when they first opens. It's not that busy. So yeah, they'll be in the back. They may not see you. I typically give a few minutes. There was someone that came up and they looked at me. They didn't say anything. And then they yelled to the back like, hey, you got a customer up here. As this person's on their phone, and they could have just came up and helped me. But I'm like, you know what? Maybe their job is not to do this for whatever reason. And I tell them, they're like, oh, well, they're going to have to wait a minute. And I'm looking around. There's really nothing happening. Like, there's no one in the drive-thru, no one there. And I'm like, okay. I don't have a rush to be somewhere, but there's too many options around here for me to just be like, just stand here and look like an idiot too. Like, y'all are getting paid. Like, I haven't been paid in a while, you know. If I were there, I would have been at the register getting, you know. But I wait a minute or two. People are walking like at the register doing X, Y, and then I see like there's no urgency to come to me to even just say something like, "Hey, we're trying to do X, Y, and Z." Blah blah blah. I'm just sitting there, and after like 3 or 4 minutes, I'm like, I didn't say anything. I just walked out. Wasn't angry. Went in my car. Drove across the street. Went to a place. Went to a Panda Express that I know what I'm going to get. The consistency of service. Same people. They're going to not hook me up, but I'm going to get what I ordered. And, you know, I know what I'm going to get. It's well run. And that consistency that like, people say, oh, you're creature of habit. Like, no, I'm creature to knowing that I'm going to get what I pay for. And I think that's what, because nothing irritates me more, like with inflation and stuff. Nothing irritates me more than when I could have had a better option and I chose a lesser good location that I knew about and I get the same, you know, inconsistent product. The power of consistency is like the most important thing when you are like going to businesses to get something. So, yeah. But yeah, to more important news, James Bond. There's a lot of backlash. In case y'all know, James Bond, Amazon Prime basically bought, you know, the rights to James Bond to make a series. It's a series or a movie, but they basically bought the rights to the next thing, the next project. And I wrote this down in my notes. There was a legitimate article on Yahoo, I believe, where it was, make sure I get it right, but it was a legitimate article debating whether what is James Bond's nationality and gender. All right. I think it's pretty clear in the previous movies what his gender and nationality is. And I even think people that are for, whether you are for, doing the Scooby-Doo Velma thing where they experiment with shit throughout the years and it's like, hey, look, I just want to see a perky, nerdy white girl. Is there something wrong with that? Like, that's what I'm accustomed to see with Velma. It doesn't mean any other versions about Velma are not great. But James Bond's a guy. Breaking news. His name is James. He's got a bond of balls, And this is a legitimate thing. Like, Amazon had to answer hey, he's going to be British. He's going to be a guy. And it's an actual thing. Like, why are people out of all the things to fight for, you're fighting for in the wrong areas? Because what happens is when you are fighting for James Bond needs to be, a female or fluid or he needs to be Asian or whatever they're trying to do. You are weakening people's tolerance for what you're trying to do. And I know that sounds bad, but you're deterring from the major point or the progress you're trying to make if that's what you're about. Because no one out here, out of all the things with, changing characters, race or gender or whatever, sexuality, whatever you're trying to do, no one in their right mind was like, you know what? No one ever watched a James Bond and be like, why do I feel like this isn't who James Bond really is? I think we watched James Bond and we're like, yeah, that's about what James Bond I think would look like. It just fascinated me. I couldn't believe it was a real story. And it wasn't a person's personal opinion piece. It was actually a real thing that Amazon had to answer to. That's what I'm just like, what are we doing? I'm not, I don't die on these hills about this. To me, that stuff is fun. If I was sitting here fighting for a cause or a bigger scope of issues, it would not be, hey, the only way we could really send a message is if we make James Bond, fluid. Or, if we just make him, Hindu. Okay. I think the thing is if people who actually identify in what you're trying to do were to watch it, do you really think they would feel represented? Or do you feel like this seems kind of forced? This doesn't even seem like a natural way to actually incorporate this that we're trying to do. I think what really lacks from, you don't realize, what really lacks from people that want to make progress in certain areas is they don't want to actually make their own. They want to, with stuff that's already made, and just make their optimal version of it. And I get that there may be a place for that, but if you really want to set the tone for the next 20, create original characters, create original stories about that. So then 20 years from now, you have that version that's bigger than James Bond, if possible. Probably not, but it's possible, This cat is knocked out. Yeah, so I just wrapped up week 4 of my day trading, and your boy, everything, day trading, it exposes the worst parts of a human being, I promise you. The thing is I've been right about a lot, but I'd make the wrong decisions at the wrong time, and it costs me money. I either don't maximize and make a profit when I can, or right when I get out of something and cut the loss, and literally 2 hours later, that shit is, and I would have made an amazing return. I'm like, fuck me. And that's a terrible way to go about doing something like that because you get frustrated. And it's like you were doing the right things, but you were still losing. And that's basically what being a man in society is. No. But, yeah, trading in general, it exposes the worst of us, of men. It really exposes greed. It exposes how easy money can turn into easy money loss too, which I guess is kind of greed. It shows ego. Really, when you think of what trading is, yes, there's analytical and stuff. You are going by ego and greed. Ego that you think, I know this shit so well. This shit is about to plummet. The greed of, I think it's going to continue to plummet. 300% return, not good enough. I put 1,000 down, could have walked away with the 10K return in 2 hours, not good enough. And that's what it exposes. And it's purely entertainment. And this is why the stock market was created. Because they know us guys will fuck it up. For every guy that makes 10 million, there's dumbasses like me that will lose 100 million. There's this channel on YouTube called Benjamin. I didn't even realize he hasn't made a video in 2 or 3 years, but I fell down this rabbit hole. And it's just nothing but Wall Street bets, insane losers. Like, people lose $1 million. Like, people with regular accounts, they get that one crazy one that got them a 200K win, and they use that to make 800K. They'll make an 800K progress in like 7-8 months. Some crazy shit. And then literally within 2 months, just betting the house and losing it all. And what's crazy, I think my issue is I'm not willing to risk it all. And that's why I'm not winning at all at the same time. And it sounds weird, risk. Risk is when I lose in these trades, the word risk, I apply it to like real life. It is real life, but it's weird because when you're in the trading world, it doesn't even feel like it's real. Like, you don't feel like Walmart's about to crumble. You don't feel like you feel like you're in a simulated game, and I'll be honest, you do sometimes forget that you're playing with real money until you lose money and you're like, fuck. Then you feel it. But in the moment of it, it really does kind of feel like a gamified version of, real life. And that's dangerous because you forget sometimes that it is real money. Same with like Prize Picks and stuff like that. But the thing with trading, for me personally, is it's really the definition of you against yourself. Not to sound corny here, because yes, you technically are against someone, but at the same time, you're not really. Because you're in control of how much you can win and how much you lose, but at the same time, you're really not. You're just in control of the fact that you don't have to lose it all and you don't have to win it all. It's really, psychology is literally like, I'll come across these videos where it's like trading is 80 to 90% psychology. And I would argue it's probably like 98%. Is 98% how you process loss? Like, are you desperate to just not lose to the point where you will refuse to take 100% loss? You will refuse that 50% is not going to happen to you? It exposed, it legitimately has exposed the worst parts of me. And that's why I love it. Because I love the worst parts of me. The worst parts of me is what makes you money in this life. The ability to ignore reality in your financial situation, that takes skill. The ability to function off no sleep when I worked at my previous job, that takes skill. The ability to ignore all negativity towards you, your way, even if you're carrying the whole fucking building. That takes skill. Um, and by the way, not to toot my own horn here, but I worked a job recently where when I worked at a lower position, I was considered by the highest superior, one of the highest superiors, the best fill in the blank he's ever seen at that position. Ever. This man's been in the company for a lot of years. And sometimes when someone tells you the best, and you're like, you know what? Yeah. Fuck this shit. But when you know you are capable of being the best at a specific thing, it really does make you feel like you can be the best at a lot of things. You are able to fight negativity. You're able to work through adversity. And that's the only thing keeping me going right now. Trading is hard. You know, like I started the week on Monday and I'm like, bruh, plus 400. This shit is easy money. By the end of the week, down for it fucks with you, man. It really does. I really thought this past week was going to be the week that I really start that breakthrough. And then it just started breaking through me. Scared money don't make money. Except you don't have any money to be scared of making. Also, you know, there's it's kind of attached to trading, right? But it's also, I've come across and I've kind of been digesting information about money. And it's weird. Your biggest breakthrough in making money will realize that money isn't real. That's a real quote. I forgot who it's by. But when you realize that money isn't real, it actually makes it easier to make money. Because we actually feel like the money in our account is all the money we have. And in today's world, weirdly enough, as much as I hate credit and all that shit, it does give you opportunity and loans and stuff like that where you have access to money that you don't have that could potentially, if you use it right, make you more money without risking your own money. Except if you fuck it up, you're going to owe a lot more than the money you borrowed. But money is literally non-existent. It is this fake thing we have created in our heads to create value. What's not fake about it is what you can do with it. But in terms of tangible value, in terms of your opportunity, there you can have more money than you have. Because the money these banks have isn't even real a lot of times. They are moving money around. You just got to catch that money when it's moved around over your head and snatch that shit. I saw a sign, by the way, that Chuck E. Cheese, they have a deal for like $100 a month. Play unlimited games. I don't know if you guys been to Chuck E. Cheese lately. That shit's expensive as fuck. It's actually not a bad deal. But it's definitely a long shot from how it used to be. And they've reduced the games. They've reduced the fun. You know, kids are shitting in the slide and shit. But yeah, you can be the star. I'll tell you what. I've been getting a lot more back into sports, media. And by the way, Bill Simmons signed a new deal with Spotify. I don't know if it was another $250 million because I cannot find the fucking numbers to save my life. But he signed a new deal where they're definitely going in video direction. They've been doing. Excuse me. And I think people need to give Bill Simmons, not that he needs more credit, but Bill Simmons he's literally the podfather of sports. Like, I was legitimately, before podcasting became this thing, I remember listening to the BS Report. Literally going on ESPN.com, going under podcasts, and it would just be this underlying thing. and I would literally just play it straight from the website and app. That's when I first, and this was like 2014, 15 is when I was introduced to this type of stuff. It wasn't even until a couple years later I got Spotify or whatever. But I think that showed a better measurement of what people actually enjoy listening to compared to now, because it wasn't algorithm based. You had to seek out what you wanted to listen to. Nowadays, you're being pushed shit in your algorithm on YouTube, which is a good thing because you can be introduced to shit that you never would look for. At the same time, your interests are adjusted to what the algorithm has fed you without even realizing it. And it's very hard on these directories to like sometimes search what you're looking for. And you could be pushed just what these podcast directories want to push to you. Because a lot of the rankings and stuff is not really all that accurate. Like, I've seen where Spotify has pushed podcasts that doesn't have many listeners or viewers. But because it has been identified as something people may want to listen to for X, Y, and Z, it gets pushed in the algorithm, and then you listen to it and you're like, who the fuck would push this shit on me? They push what they want to, like, I would say the one fault, like, I think over time, I think what Spotify and them should do is kind of go the YouTube route to push. Like, if you really want people to listen to different podcasts and push it out, you got to actually like create it like a YouTube algorithm in a way. And I think the YouTube algorithm is very flawed. I don't love it. You kind of have to play a game, but at the same time, like, podcasts are always going to be dominated by the heavy top ones until there's algorithm created by it. So, because I've been pushed some bullshit on my Spotify. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna put them on blast or nothing, but it will be podcasts with less listeners than me and viewers. And I've done the research on that. Like, you're pushing this, but this other podcast I listen to that gets consistent 100,000 listens, downloads, and shit like that I know gets play. You won't push this shit down to me, but I know I like this shit, and you know I don't like this other shit. To me, I don't know. But yeah, Bill Simmons. Those were the days where, like, you legitimately, I think it created more of, you cared more about scheduling, you cared more about waiting for the next thing, because one, it wasn't, podcasts weren't just this thing that were just given to people. You know, it wasn't this thing that we feel entitled to. Like, we felt rewarded when we got an episode. Nowadays, we felt entitled. Back in the day, we felt rewarded. Because it wasn't just this, like, everyone has a show. It wasn't just this, what's being pushed to be like, you had to really create a real fan base. Like, Bill Simmons can not record an episode for 3 months and post an episode, and he's going to have his core fan base there. A lot of these people, man, if they stop posting for 2 months, you're going to forget about them. Because you've never actually had to search out for their episodes. And because there's so many other shows, you can have other shows fill out the time. But there are a lot of high quality podcasts now. There's a lot of low quality too. And with the high quality ones, because even these top dogs like JRE and Bill Simmons and stuff like that in their field, they still feel the need to post more than ever. And they're the top of their field because they know the competition is, once you're out of people's minds, people will forget about you pretty quick. So, but yeah, with that being said, he's signed another big deal. And The Ringer is one of the most underrated podcast networks. And they have had some weird shit with unions. They're kind of like the Amazon of podcasting. They're like unions. Who's talking about that around here? And look, I didn't work there. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a BS fan. Like, the Ringer union thing, like, looking into it just a little bit, not too much. It does seem like a lot of people that were whiny because they didn't get put on. And there was a lot of things, he promoted his nephew and this and that. I wasn't promoted because I was mixed. And then, like, some of these people that are on the shows, they appeared on the Bill Simmons podcast or other podcasts, and you're like, no, the reason why you weren't continuously pushed is because, honestly, I don't think many people enjoyed you that much. Not that they were bad, but, like, I think they were, when they started bringing in more talent, like when Ryan Russillo came over, when Ryan Russillo, now Todd McShay, for one, when they brought, like, Kevin Clark was there for a while. Like, they had a lot of, like, quality. Like, Sean Fennessy does a lot of the film and TV. Chris Ryan does a lot of film, TV, sports, kind of like all of it. Pop culture. Like, they had most of the slots filled. And if you didn't really stand out in a field, then it was kind of hard to continuously push you because they already had the staples, and then they brought in more talent, and that's what it does. People think because they're part of the startup, right? But once you get big enough and you start getting bigger, you want to expand, you start bringing in more talent from the outside that you know can hold their own without any promotion or too much promotion. And because they're the talent, they're going to build their fan base. And they look at you and they're like, if we didn't have my name attached to this video with you, how many people would watch or not watch? And, you know, people don't want to talk about it because it's uncomfortable. But if you're not willing to individually hold an audience, then you're expendable. That's the nature of the game. And I think sometimes people get into this art stuff. People get into creative spaces. And they think just because they have creative juice or outlet, that they're entitled to a lot of things. This isn't me being like pro Bezos or Bill Simmons. I'm not against unions or nothing. I don't. But at the same time, it's like, just because you get let go or fired from a job is not because you were not put on. Maybe it's like there was a cap to what you brought. It's a viewer listener based business. If we gave you your own show, which they did to some, would you be able to build a strong fan base with it? And for a lot of them, no. But then you get let go, and then it's like this whole, now they want to bring race and all this stuff. And there's a time and place where that exists. But one thing in this business that will speak is the numbers. It does not matter what race or anything, nationality, sexuality. If you can't bring in listeners, viewers, or it's limited in how much you could bring on your own, then it's going to be very hard for you. This is coming from someone with not many listeners or viewers. But that's the cold truth about it. So either build something yourself where you have, like, you had the platform of the Ringer, you couldn't do it. Well, prove that you could do it on your own. I'm not saying you can't. And, nepotism. He gave his daughter shine and gave her a podcast and stuff. It's like, yeah. Because he can. And I'll be honest, I've listened to some she's on. It's a cute dynamic with, and it's weird. All these people complain about nepotism and stuff like that, but then what do they want to do? They want to have their own, they want their own business and then put their people on, whether that's friends, family. They want to do that too. Like, there's always going to be that. I'm not saying that it's right, but if they bring in viewers and listeners, then it works. Like his cousin Kyle, a producer, our nephew Kyle, he's actually a really good addition. He contributes on the Russillo show. Like a pretty big staple. The mailbag, the Q&As and stuff. Him, Cerruti, and Ryan Russillo, they fill a gap. And it works. It's fun. It's entertaining. You complain because you're on a show and it doesn't get the views or the listens. You're on the same channel. You're on the same network. The people have spoken for what they want. I think that probably contributed more to that. But, you know, it's not to shit on anyone. Like, I'm not in a position to sit here and talk about, you know, stuff like that. But I think there's an uncomfortable reality. It's not promoting nepotism, but he has nepotism, but then therefore LeBron and his son, and people are critical about that. But, you know, honestly, if they were in a similar situation, you would probably try to do the same thing. Like, I personally don't see... Like, people always want to say it's about who you know and all this stuff. Like, yeah, it does sometimes matter. And you know what? If you, like, yeah, I understand that who you know matters in this world. But at the same time, I will never use that as an excuse for getting or not getting something I want. So if that's going to be an underlying factor for you to make excuses about something, then you're honestly kind of weak-minded and you're full of excuses. Because there's always an alternative. You can just create the thing yourself. And prove that you don't need nepotism getting in the way of what you want. You know? That's just my can of beans spilling out of my butthole. But yeah. So yeah, I guess we got to talk about it. Elon. One of the most... what's the polarizing? I hate that term, polarizing. Polarizing is just a nice way of saying a lot of people don't like you. But we like to use polarizing. We like to say things like controversial. Well, really, all those things really just mean a lot of people strongly dislike someone. And if they had, you know, if we had the laws of the purge, they would take advantage of it. But Elon, there's this whole Tesla situation going on. So obviously, if you keep up with the markets, you know that Tesla's stock's been tanking really for months, but especially the past couple weeks, it's been really, really low comparing to where they used to be. And 98.5% of it is because of Elon. It shows the importance of image, reputation, of basically the face of your company. Well, the one thing I will say with the people going to parking lots, literally there was a parking lot where people took 44 tires off of Teslas. And I don't think it was a Tesla parking lot. It was just a parking lot that happened to have a lot of Teslas. People keying people's Teslas, which is stupid when you know there's cameras. And you've seen all the videos of the cameras catching people doing stuff, and people like, they won't catch me. While they're wearing tank tops with visible tattoos that are very distinct to a human being that make it very identifiable. But especially my thing is the person that are going around keying, putting swastikas on a private owner's Tesla. That individual that has a Tesla, it is not their fault of what Elon is doing. And if you want to say, well, if you decide to associated with it, you're part of the problem. It's like, what do you want the people to do? You want them to get rid of their $80,000 vehicle just like that to appease you? Oh gosh, shut up. Some people I understand. I'm not saying you should support Elon or nothing like that. You should not support these actions. But you also shouldn't support people that are out here going to individuals' vehicles, violence towards people that have nothing to do with anything Elon did. Because if we want to break down, there's plenty of companies out here, especially if a company's been around for over 80 to 100 years, chances are in the 30s and 40s, they participated in questionable activities. If you just look in history, by default, most of these namesake companies, they participate in these things, but we don't hold them to the same standard. This isn't me caping for Elon. But people need to be able to separate. If you don't want to be with that company, fine. Chances are a lot of these people probably can't afford a Tesla. And that's me included. But I'm not going to go around keying someone's vehicle, or because someone drives up in a Tesla, call them, Hitler and stuff like that. I think people just need to, I hate to be the Joey Swole out here, but people just need to do better. The world out here of products and consumerism, it's really like separating the artists from the art. If we want to give the same excuse to Kanye for all this shit, for doing the same shit, well, the music's great, then we need to have the same energy for Elon, Really, Kanye and Elon are basically the same guy. You be the richest, like the man has legitimately lost like $440 billion worth in his company over the past couple months. That's how much projected net worth his company has lost. And the dude's like, Doge. It's kind of admirable. That just shows the stupid type of money he has. He's the richest man on paper, quote unquote, in the world, even after losing all this money. Think about how insane that is. Jesus, this weather ain't no joke. Someone's Tesla's getting a tree branch tonight. But I think, if you are one of these fanboys, if you are like fanboying over Elon like he's an athlete, there's an issue with that. Is he a role model? Not probably in behavior wise, but in terms of being an innovative person of this generation, it's hard to deny. To me, on the internet, a lot of people think the more aggressive against they are something, like they're speaking louder for something. We're really just avoiding and just not feeding into it is really going to speak louder. The more backlash, all you're doing is you're giving someone that you dislike more attention and attention and attention. And over time, good or negative engagement, especially when he's running an engagement platform like X, like it's only helping him, believe it or not. Even when he's being hated in one area, he's making money in another. And you keying people's Teslas that have nothing to do with what he has done. Like, a Tesla is not just like you have a 12-pack of Pepsi that you just throw away if a CEO says some shit. It's a pretty big investment. You can't just be like, I doubt there's something in the clause like, hey, if Elon goes off the wagon, you get a free exchange. Nah, highly doubt it. But Elon is he's controversial in a lot of ways. But are we really surprised that he's acting this way? If you break down, like it's not even, it's hard to really debate. He has a form of Asperger's autism. And that's what kind of makes him as fascinating and probably has him the level of focus. And he only cares about what he cares about. That's one of the beauties about when my belief, and I know this is kind of a weird thing to attach this, simply the things that we consider like learning disabilities typically have the highest focus of upside, because the things that makes it uncomfortable with people that have like Asperger's, autism, attention deficit, ADD, ADHD, and all that stuff is it makes it where you don't get caught up in all the extra noise that doesn't really matter. You're kind of in your own world. You are so hyper focused on just the one thing that you care about. And it comes with a lot of issues. You have 12 kids and none of them have a real name. You make women believe that you're actually going to be there for the children, which is weird. I don't know how many different women you have to have kids with for the next one to be like, yeah, but he'll do it for me. He's like, you sure about that? He's like, when they turn 18, I put them in the orbit, Like, you're really going to trust a guy who literally names their kid numbers? I don't know. And my theory about that is, I think because he really views himself as like a king, like a Roman. Like, King Henry VIII and all this stuff. That's why he gives the weird names. That's why a lot of celebrities give their kid weird names. It's this kind of, not superiority, because I don't think it's really something like that, but it's this, we are creating an empire legacy. You kind of buy into that BS. But except he's literally creating an empire because he actually has the money to create an empire. But yeah, like his behavior is erratic. And that's also what makes him hyper-focused and great at what he does professionally. You got to clarify that, professionally. Jesus, that shit is windy as fuck. But to me, I think just these outlandish protests that people are not really accomplishing with Elon. You're taking out on individual owners of property. You're going to parking lots, taking tires off. You like, the weirdest thing is the woman that drew a swastika. You are anti something he said, but then you legitimately draw a swastika. Like, you drawing the symbol is a symbolism that's what you're for. Isn't it? I don't know. It's kind of odd to go out of your way to do that. Keying someone's vehicle is wild. Like, you'd have thought, like, Elon made them abort their baby. I'm going to key your car. Elon's like, yeah, I don't know if I kind of got a factory of them. I don't know what would be the thing to get under Elon's skin. Like, nothing seems to really, the dude has lost $400 billion of value in his company, and it does not bother him. I'm sure it bothers him, but he has not done any PR, no recourse, except getting Trump to buy his Tesla, which was the most awkward, weirdest thing I've ever seen. That live stream of, I remember, because I'm literally trading in the middle of the day, and I'm like, I can't believe that they're doing this like PR event. The world's collapsing around Ukraine, this tariffs, this, and Trump's like, hey, you know what? Let's do a live stream of 40 minutes of me getting into a Tesla, signing up for it. Like, he's got to finance it, Trump financing a Tesla is insane. In the middle of all this stuff, like, yeah, we're fighting with Canada, but hey, I got a Tesla. I'm just laughing looking at this shit. And then it's funny how something as stupid that means nothing, all of it actually helped the stock for the day. And I only say that at the point that what we react to as people, especially Americans, if we're being pretty honest about it, is so stupid. Like, what does that impact your view on Tesla. Like, that itself is not going to take Tesla to the moon right now. There's a lot of, people that are actually into the business of Tesla and all that stuff will explain the real issues. Their sales are down in basically every country but China and all, the technical stuff. But really, Tesla stock is tanking just because of his behavior. And it's crazy to think one individual has such an impact over our whole financial sector in a way. And that's really what's scary, is that someone can lose $440 billion of value and it does not affect them enough to make them change course in their behavior. That's really, if you're really looking at what the real issue is, that's really what the issue is. If I lost $440, we got some problems. It was like, I guess we just got to ride it out. Like, you imagine being the person in charge of his books? Like, Elon, you're kind of stressing me out. He's like, don't worry, we'll be all right. And the book's like, I don't know if you know how finances work, but we're not. It's like, you may be all right, but you got to keep people employed here. He's like, don't worry, these people that are keying the vehicles, they'll be applying for Tesla. But it's weird because I think the thing that people don't realize is what we're actually doing, the way people are reacting. We're actually making him have a stronger effect and presence. And I know he's like now in charge of the Doge Treasury or whatever, which is weird. Like, I didn't even know that was actually a thing he was going to do until, I guess, Trump was inaugurated into office. I didn't know that was a real thing. But yeah, the muskrat is after it. But yeah, you know what? That's one thing me and Elon have in common, which is not a sentence you should ever say in these days of times, because people will take that one sentence and think like, oh, you're a Nazi. And you're like, I mean, I have a mustache, but no. I don't see people going around keying Volkswagens, and there's a weird history with that too. But like, yeah, if you look into every company's history, people in charge, like you could go around to all these consumer products, and it's like it's your choice whether to buy it or not. That's what brings it value. So, but yeah, no, me and Elon, we both are very socially just like won't look at you. Except he, has the financial well-being to, get a pass with it. But yeah, speaking of getting passes, John Travolta. I think there's got to be a conversation. John Travolta may be legitimately one of the most underrated, talented actors of the past 40 years. And I don't think that's an exaggeration. You really think like this man can legitimately dance. He could legitimately act. He could do any type of movie, especially in his prime days. Even now, he's still doing some shit. It's wild, like, how criminally underrated. Like, people talk about the greatest actors of all time, like, Daniel Day-Lewis and all this stuff. I'm not saying he's, like, that type of mold of actor where they get that lost in the sauce, which I think a lot of that stuff's really just unnecessary. But I do think he deserves his due for the variety of what he can do. Dude did Saturday Night Fever. Dude did Grease. Dude did Pulp Fiction. He's done a shitload of action films. Quite a bit of comedies. Quite a bit of dramas. Quite a bit of suspense, crime. Like, he's covered all the bases. And for some reason, it's not like... It feels like he's more of like... people feel it's like a theater type of feel, because he has that range, but it's not like that superstar feeling type of thing. It's kind of hard to explain. But yeah, I don't know. Shout out to JT and the Tennessee kids. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of shootout videos. Dude, there's a lot of wild ass videos out there. I watched a video of an elderly lady in line. It looked like at a Target. And this like 17, 18-year-old redhead kid. It's like the surveillance cam, and it just like there was nothing. She was just standing there. And the dude just turns around and literally just fucking Pacquiao's her ass. She knocked out clean away. The dude just walks off. This old dude next, like no one knew what to do. No one. It's odd that like people see this stuff and they just stand there and do absolutely nothing. But it's more wild when you see like how crazier. And I do think, people always say, "Oh, this stuff's been happening since the beginning of time." But now that it's all being recorded everywhere we go, it's just more magnified. And I honestly don't think that's necessarily the case. I think there's something where when people feel so unseen in society, I think when people feel so down on themselves, or they just feel like the world hates them and all this stuff, anything to get attention, even at the expense of knocking out an 80-year-old elderly lady, or to just be part of violent acts, or to just go out on the street and just unnecessarily cause issues with people that are just minding their business, or road rage. I think because people are more frustrated than ever. People just are at the tipping points of everything, and people are so unpredictable. It's not from people that are just cuckoo. It's not from people that have, anger issues all the time. It's people that have never been diagnosed with any issues. And I think when you've never been diagnosed with issues, clinically or whatever, and you feel all this rage inside, the world's not giving you back what you feel you deserve. You did everything right, and, the world says fuck you type of shit. I think that brings out more anger out of people than when people have that crutch. I think the more normal you are deemed to be, you almost feel like you have no excuse for when things are going lackluster in life. And it causes people, in my belief, to punch elderly women in line. But it's more than that. It's people feeling like they could skip the line at places and get an attitude if you question them. People that are going around just finding issues. People that do quote-unquote pranks on people. Really, they're just annoying the shit out of people, pushing people to the edge, and then get mad when they start throwing hands at them. Like, just a prank, bro. People want to just make people feel underserved, underwhelmed, just for them to get a quick laugh out of it. So, to me, god damn, it's hot as fuck. But yeah, to me, it's very uncomfortable, but I'm so desensitized. Like, I watched a few videos today, not looking it up, but just coming across my feed of people like watching videos of people doing something and they die from it. Like, I watched like 2 videos today of someone falling off the top of a building because they were playing around too much, trying to do some fun shit, and then they fell off, and someone recorded from a distance and splattered on the ground. I've seen videos of people being run over by cars. I've seen people on bikes being sideswiped by someone not paying attention. The people driving off, like, especially, there was this one lady. She was on a mountain in Southern California. Now she saw some snow coming down, which is typically projection that a potential avalanche may happen. So she got off the mountain, whatever, But a day or two later, she wanted to finish her quest about it. So she went back, but she decided to start at nighttime. And then literally at nighttime, something happened. She lost her footing, fell down a good 500 feet or something. She obviously died. And I guess it's like that need for, it's an admirable quality to start where you finish. But I think also sometimes the pressure of this go one more culture of never giving up, and it makes people think irrationally and almost feeling like if you're not trying to do the most, you are doing the least. I kind of feel bad, I gotta say, I hate teenagers. I hate young college students. I hate teenagers. Not because of you realize, and you think back, because I was sitting somewhere. And there's nothing worse than when you go somewhere to just like a relaxing setting, and there's just a group of like 5 or 6 people like nearby, and they're just talking loud the whole fucking time, and they're laughing, annoying. The stuff they're laughing about is about nothing. Like, have you ever heard people laugh for an hour and you eavesdrop because you can't listen to your own shit, and you're like, you guys are literally just laughing at a laugh to laugh. You're reacting to a laugh to laugh again. But you're not actually listening to what you're laughing about. No one's actually really laughing. It's almost like you're laughing to not actually listen to anything of substance. But, it's easy to critique when you're older. Because I think, to be fair, like, you know what? That's probably how me and my group of friends sounded when you're around people who are middle-aged. Even if you don't think you talked like that, chances are you probably talked in a way that was annoying to older people. That's just how younger teenagers talk. But when you realize, like, it's just everyone has the same issues. Young people will always have to, like, ages between 16 to like 22. Everyone, it's the same issues you hear. And it will be the same issues for the time of day. It's people talking about, what happened the night before at a party. And how, he just doesn't love me. You're like, yeah, he probably doesn't. That's always the most uncomfortable when you hear other people's conversation and you know the answer to it, but they are like oblivious. Like, typically if 2 girls are talking about a guy and it's like younger college, you think about, all right, I know how the young man thinks, and they're describing everything. He just doesn't call me. I was like, he's dropping the clues. Been there before. He's leaving the breadcrumbs. He's trying to get you to leave, but he's just not that into you. And then, like, they sound like they're having a mental breakdown over a guy they've talked to for 3 weeks, and you're like, Jesus. But then there's also grown ass people that will have mental breakdowns if a person they've been talking to for 3 weeks, slows down some interest for whatever reason. It's like, all right, relax, And that's the thing. That stuff with some people carries. Because you will be surprised how many grown-ass 40, 56-year-olds, you just go online, it's these grown people having these childish issues because they've never actually learned to enjoy things about themselves. So they put all the pressure on their spouse, who they ended up divorcing. And so, like, I watched a video earlier where a divorced couple, but she's living in a house, their old house, and she's already got a new dude in there, but the dude's older, and he's dropping off the kid because they have their custody thing they have to do, but he has a camera in the back of his vehicle because he knew some weird shit. And this dude, like, the second he pulls up, he's like, hey, where's the child support money? It's like, bro, you're living in the fucking house. It's like, it's weird how, it's this weird thing where like child support and alimony, it deters people's point of view where like they meet someone else and that person feels like that entitlement to that as well. Especially as a guy, that's even weirder. And the grown ass dude is sitting there telling the guy who's dropping his kid off to their mom, and this new dude, her boyfriend or whatever, is sitting there like talking to him like, oh, so when's the child support coming in? Like, motherfucker, like, what do you do? It's like, if you can't even match what I bring to at least help our daughter, if that's something you're going to actually be a part of the life, then honestly, you shouldn't even be here. And then he tried to fake that the guy pushed him down and all that shit and tried to stage an assault so he can, so he can lose custody of shit. And that's the wildest thing is like divorce court, the law and trials have become really a joke. It's not even really about what the intent of the original trial was. It really is just about winning. And that's why Casey Anthony got away with it. If we're going to be honest, Casey Anthony got away with murder because technicalities, and they proved more of, they couldn't really 100% prove how and when because her dad, there was inconsistencies in that. But basically her, and at minimum her family too, her mom and dad, they got some weird shit about that whole case. I mean, but you're reading between the lines. Like, she did it. I don't give a fuck about defamation. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. She did it. I don't care. I don't care what the court said. And anyone that wants to say, well, if the court found you, okay, that's fine. You know what? Have Casey Anthony babysit your child since you're so confident she didn't do it. Exactly. Fuck off. If you don't trust her to babysit your child, there's a reason. Look at that woman. All right. Definitely not teaching swimming lessons anytime soon. But really, like trials, the court of law is a joke. You watch SVU clips, people think like that's not really how, really what the law is designed. You pay for lawyers. The lawyer knows you did it, but their job is to prove that you didn't really do it convincingly. But the jury's got to convict whether, without a doubt, you did do it. Otherwise, you're not guilty. And you know what? Fair enough. But the trials and stuff, it's for a spectacle. It is not for the actual justice part. It's for entertainment. There's literally lawyers, they call themselves entertainment lawyers. It's because there's an entertainment aspect to people's livelihoods and going to jail and child support and alimony. Like Amon Shumpert. She, Tiana Taylor's Ari with a whole nother guy, all that stuff. And that's fine. They finalized their divorce. Right? Their divorce. She has property of, I think it was like 3 or 4 different houses. Crazy amount of child support month. Like all these assets, real estate, all this stuff. And you ask yourself, so what does he get? You break it down, like she basically gets most of the properties, a few vehicles, all these belongings, all these assets and all this stuff, plus child support, plus alimony. And she has a full-fledged career on top of that. And you ask, but what does he get out of it? And honestly, that's not the way the systems were designed. But when there's so much greed, when there's so much in for the lawyers, because the more the lawyers can get out for you, the more you can pay them for their services, the more they can get out of it. Because honestly, like for most people, even if you just amicably divorce, most people aren't trying to do all that, depending on how it ended. But then you get a couple lawyers in your ear, they try to convince you, but you can have this, you can get this. And really, it's just because they want to get more out of it. They don't care how you're going to have to co-parent with this person the rest of your life. How is someone going to be able to pay this amount a month, be able to financially provide for themselves, be a good parent to your child, if you're just going to wipe them clean all the time, make their life miserable? That doesn't make any sense. You're hurting everyone involved in that situation. You're only hurting your child more down the road. So, but, no one cares to hear complain about it because it's not really complaining. It's just like, really look at it. Does that seem reasonable? The dude doesn't even play in the NBA anymore. Dude hasn't played in the NBA for, I think, like 3 or 4 years minimum. The dude doesn't have these active checks coming in. So that money's going to run out or slowly become, regardless of what he's doing now, I'm pretty sure it doesn't come damn near close to what he was making then. So eventually, there's going to be margins of difference. But our system would rather wipe people clean for the greed of others than actually do what's best for the situation. Like Gene Hackman. Not to go down the list of celebrities that are in this weird. There's a lot of controversy because he, in his will that he made like 20 years ago, he left apparently not much of anything, money or real estate or anything, to his children, and he left it all to his wife. Now, I don't know his relationship with his children and all that stuff, But there's something doesn't feel right about that, for all of it to just go to her, none to his kids. Like, regardless of what you believe, like, I don't necessarily believe in passing on money to your kids, but like, since his wife died with him, all the money is gonna go to her side of the family and the state, and the right thing to do would be for them to at least find a way to distribute the money to his family, because he is the one that it's possible for all that money to be distributed in the first place. Do right by it. But no one cares. People would rather live in the court system with technicalities and not actually what makes sense. The court system is now designed for people that want to be proven right instead of getting it right. The court system is really just designed, if you really break it down, it's a childish game. It's really just like two people bickering back and forth about, you are both in the wrong, chances are, about something, but you're both just trying to prove who did the worst out of you two. Like, it's like, you did this. Yeah, but you did that one time. Yeah, but I did that because you did. And this is back and forth of one thing led to another, and all this stuff is this domino effect. Like, to me, I don't find those divorce court reality shows entertaining. I know most of them are fake. I don't, at this age, Jerry Springer, Maury, all that stuff, it's all cute and fun when you're younger, even if a lot of the shit's not really real. But the message that type of programming does send is that this shit is fun to joke about lying about who's the father of your child, lying about you sleeping with other women, lying about STDs you're carrying, lying about who's this, lying about this, that, and the other. It creates this culture that lying, if it's in an entertainment form, it's okay. Lying, as long as you think you're doing something right, even if it's wrong, because lying is just wrong to begin with. As long as you can mold it in some way, it's okay. Not to get too real here. Not to get into like, the metaverse or to get too into the matrix. But programming is really important that what you watch at a younger age develops how you view these things. That's why social media, it's a lot of these cute jokes about, people lying about their whereabouts of, cheating on their wives and cheating on their husbands and their partners and all this stuff. Like, it's all cute and fun, but there's nothing funny about it. Because all that does, it creates this programming in people's head that, as long as you package it in entertainment at the joke of someone else's expense, it's okay. It's not. At the end of the day, however you want to package it, it's not. But Maury, Steve Wilkos, all these shows where it's all cute and fun until, someone shoots you in the head while you're sleeping, or tries to hire a hitman on you. It's all cute and fun. Yeah. So moral of the story is keep your will under your mother's name. Do the Ronaldo method. Because that is a real thing. And where people will put all of, it's a new thing that guys are, it's more of an international thing, but there's a lot of dudes. But dudes will do it and not realize they're not actually still protecting their assets. But I'm not going to get into that. But like Ronaldo, other soccer players. I think there's even a baseball player recently. He got divorced. He put all of his assets under his mother's name. So in the divorce, it couldn't be taken from him. So, I'm not here promoting. I'm just saying it happens. But the fact that the reason why that is discovered and guys with any type of means of money feel the need to do that is because they see it so much and they don't want to be a victim or a statistic of that. Because you are a target. The more of a target you are, the more you actually got to think about this stuff. So yeah. There's for the youth out there. So yeah, anal beads. There's some wild ass videos out there. I'm not gonna say where I saw this video. On X, bro. There's a video. Someone was in a parking lot, and next thing they turned the camera like 2 parking spots over, and there is it looked like a guy's ass. I don't know. It was from the side. Looked like a man's cheeks. Didn't look like a woman's cheeks. And luckily it was through tinted glass, but you could see enough. And this woman was just eating this guy's butthole. Like, imagine you're just sitting in a Costco parking lot. You turn your head. And you just see some guy with his pants down over the middle console in the back seat. You see nothing but just the backside. And then some woman just licking it up like some Sonny's ribs. Baby got back. That's kind of nasty. But, hey, that's what your kids are watching. I don't know what to tell you. That's what your kids are watching these days. They're worried about their kids listening to Twisted Sister, but not worried about, how twisted their half-sister is. Yeah. But yeah, that's censorship, and that's a problem, there's a fine line, I honestly, look, I'm not. There's a fine line where like YouTube, sometimes it's a little bit too much censorship. And then sometimes X, it's like, look, man, I just want to scroll through and watch some heartwarming dog videos. And as you know, you're watching animal abuse. And you're like, okay. This is not what I came. It kind of fucks up your mood. So there is a balance that needs to be had out there. You know, we used to shit on cable programming for censoring words and blocking this. But you know what? There's a time and place for it. I think people are starting to come around, like, you know, completely just unhinged shit on the internet. It's not what I want to see. But I also want to be able to see some shit, you know? That'd be cool to be in a tornado, though. I mean, it wouldn't be. You know, I know that's kind of insensitive to say, being the fact there's literally severe thunderstorms all over the Midwest and now coming here. I think it'd be kind of interesting, you know. I think we've had it too easy. We need to, like, just throw a couple people in tornadoes and see what real adversity, you know. People want to ride water parks, like, hey, go outside. You can find out what it. You could travel across the county a lot faster. There is, you know, a lot of, with these banks, you know, there's a lot of controversy about these 4-day, 5-day-a-week things I've been seeing. You know, JP Morgan, for example, Jamie Dimon, he is on the right, like, you guys need to come back to the fucking office. And a lot of these banks, their philosophy is pretty old school. You guys need to, especially when you're first an intern and stuff, like, you need to be, it should be, like, you should expect to be here 50, 60, 70 hours a week or whatever is necessary. That's the only way you become good and you build good relationships and prove your worth in this business. Like, that's their mindset. They're not into the 4 days a week. You know, oh, come in for a few hours, you know. Nah, like, they're about come in for business, you know. And then I come across, there's this bank in, I think it's England or Australia, I don't know. But the bank's called the Atom. It seems like a smaller bank. But they're a complete opposite. They don't want you working, like, they actually cut back to like 3.5 days in a week. 34 hours max, and their employees were still getting paid the same as when they were working 40, 50 plus. And it's this bank near like the England, like downtown England, whatever the fuck, UK. But there's this heavy thing about, you know, work culture. And I think really, like, you know, you go to, people talk about Switzerland, people talk about England, like the work culture is a lot more relaxed there. Like, it's not about how many hours can you work to kill yourselves. That's more like American, China, Indian culture. Poor third world countries where it's survival, that you need to work that much. But, you know, look, I'm of a newer generation, so, and I do realize, I've been saying, you know, a lot this episode. It's late at night and I'm tired as fuck. But, you know, I'm somewhere in between, right? I don't really think, in terms of production, people don't need to be somewhere 60 hours a week to be productive. If anything, that's anti-productive. If you need your employees to be at work 60 hours a week, every single week of the year. I understand certain times of the year, your busy times, seasonal, depending on places you work, or it's just like your busiest times of the year, you need people to be at the office more and stuff like that. All right. Like, there's a time and place for that, but just for the sake of it, I think people think hard work is just killing hours. You can do, like, a hard worker is someone that maximizes their time. A hard worker is someone that can get shit done in a 3-hour period when it would take most 7 or 8 hours because of their hyper focus. Efficiency, planning, timing. But also, I also don't think that really, 2 to 3 days a week is really, for most places, is going to be useful either. Because you got to hire more employees, all that stuff. And people always say they want to work less hours. But then they don't want to see the paychecks that come with it. Everyone wants to only work 20 hours a week. Until they get them paychecks and they're like, hey, think I could pick up some hours, But this company, they're like, look, we want to keep this model. Because we want to make, and he literally said it, if everything goes right with AI and stuff, we don't have to have anyone work here. And that's where when these companies are comfortable with, just work 3 days. It's because they have found ways that they make things more efficient without your extra labor. And that sounds good in theory, but then you're also not going to have a job anytime. Like the fact that he said it, and it was so like, it was like, I know I read that the way I read it. This guy literally said, yeah, look, we're hoping over time to reduce this to where we have 0 hours employees have to come in. It's like, well, if they don't come in for any hours, what are they doing? Oh yeah, they're unemployed. That's what they're doing. Okay. And that's where you gotta be careful. Like JP Morgan's like, look, we want to overwork your ass and pay you a lot. This other company's like, these relaxed companies, you remember the old, people will always be bragging about their day in these tech companies. Yeah, we come in, people that are working for Facebook or Meta or whatever, people working for Instagram, Snapchat, they come in, they brag about their day basically doing nothing except they come in, they go on their computer for an hour, do some BS work. They get free food. They get 3 free meals a day. They have ping pong tables, they have beanbag chairs. They have all this cool stuff. And they make all these cool videos about how they do nothing in the day. And then these tech companies who are literally creating technology to replace you, they're like, hey, you know what? We don't need you to read emails. We got people that can filter that out for us. And then now they're going on the internet complaining about it's hard to find a job and this, that, and the other. And I get it. But you also went on the internet and bragged about how you did nothing in a day. So I'll be honest, if I was a boss of a place, CEO, whatever, and there's people on my company, in my building where I work, bragging about they do nothing in a day and they're getting paid for it, that's not a good look, especially if there is work to be done. And what it tells me, well, if there's not that much work to be done, then I probably don't need most of you. So somehow I was taught very early on, it was my first job. Someone said the best way to be viewed as a great worker is to look busy even when there's nothing to do. Because when you work in a lot of these customer-driven businesses, whether that's fast food at the time, retail, any type of job where there will be dead parts of the day, there's always something to do. And that was instilled in me very early on. There's always something to do. And that's why everywhere I've worked, I've been the most overworked, pretty well paid for whatever the job was. And because even when there was quote unquote nothing to do, there's always something to do to prepare for when shit starts popping again. And people that have never worked those type of jobs, and their first job is a job like this, where that's where they're introduced to, is you staying around not doing much all day. It creates a self-sense that that's what it's like. Well, all you're doing is you're advertising to CEOs who worked their way up at different places in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and all that shit. And they're looking at you like, oh, that's how you think we do? At least look like you're trying to create something different. This isn't just social hour. I know we run a social network here. But, But yeah, that's good old fun times, you know. God damn, it is sweating out here. I feel like I'm at Panera Bread because I feel overcharged. I was never lucky enough to overdose on that charged lemonade. Or apparently you drink 2 of those in a day, you could die. And I've literally had 2 energy drinks today, a coffee, and I'm fine. You know what's funny? There's a CEO out there that fascinates me. He's now the Starbucks CEO. He was the Chipotle CEO before. And I believe back in the day, he was Taco Bell CEO. And he kind of created the slogan, Live Más. Or at least he was in charge when that was created. Did he probably come up with the name? Probably not. But this man is probably, I know he gets a lot of shit for making $94 million after being 3 months on the job. I know he gets a lot of shit because has a mandatory, the amount of money it takes for his private jet consumption. But I'll be honest. If I turn around Taco Bell, Chipotle, and Starbucks, you're putting me on a fucking private jet. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not feeling no ill will about when, like, there's certain things like, all right, you turn around one company, all right. You could say, so look, you turn around 2, hey, this guy's on this. You're on the verge of turning around 3 of some of the biggest chains of the past decade, 20 years. Like, yeah, put me on a fucking private jet. You need to pay me like 20% of the fucking company. Stocks, baby. And apparently his pay is literally $50,000 in base salary. And then the rest is bonuses and stocks. Like, I love that structure. Like, what does he own? Like half of Starbucks stock? Or Jesus Christ. But this man, Brian Niccol, like, you say what you want about, and I know it's fun to hate on CEOs these days and stuff like that. But it's pretty undeniable. Everywhere he has been, he has made a drastic difference. Like, when a company's paying you $94 million in 3 months, it's because they really need change, and he's already starting to make some change. Now, he did a call basically like, yeah, no, our employees need to pick up the slack. This man, he laid off all of corporate at Starbucks. And then he's like, yeah, our employees in the store, they just need to work harder. It's probably not the greatest look. All of our hardworking employees, they just need to stop bitching. Write the names on the fucking cups. This man's like, write the names on the fucking cups like you're supposed to. Not this printout bullshit. Like, no, we need that personal coffee shop feeling. And you know what? I got to agree. Not to agree with another rich white man here. But I don't care if they write the names on the cup. But I will say, for a coffee shop and something like that, one thing, like, I don't go to Starbucks that often. And look, I mean, the products are fine, even though they're getting rid of the products I actually enjoy. So I don't know how much of a customer I am there. As I just praised the guy, he did just take away the only things I get there. But it definitely doesn't have that personalized coffee shop feeling. Like, it's the setting and aura and cool, but it's not like that old Starbucks, like, where you're local. Like, everyone knows you're corporate, everyone knows you're big as fuck, but you were big as fuck back then, and you still had that feel to it. And going to a place like that where that's the design, it does matter. I know I talked about customer service earlier, but those little things do matter. I know no one wants to admit it, but it does. And I'm not trying to glaze the guy here. I don't, they're not relatable. These people that are making this crazy amount of money in charge of companies, they're not relatable. But people act like, I'm sorry, if you were in charge of CEO Chipotle, Taco Bell, and probably whatever other companies he's been a part of. Are you going to sit here and take a discount for turning around a multi-billion-dollar corporation? Like, you were literally responsible for making this company billions of dollars more than what they're making now because of changes you're going to put them in direction to make. Like, yeah, put me on a fucking private jet. I don't give a fuck. I mean, they even got one of the older CEO's sons, throwing hands at Ian Rappaport. That's wild. Getting in a fight at your dad's old job. Like, that's pretty insane. But no, we're okay with that nepotism. But we freak out about LeBron and Bill Simmons and his nepotism. But hey, we're cool with Howard Schultz's son getting into a completely, to me, not to go back to nepotism. Nepotism is more of an issue to me if someone gets a job into something that had nothing to do with their parent. Like LeBron, his son's getting a job because of basketball. Going back to Bill Simmons. His daughter got airtime on The Ringer on his show, and I think she had a little show of hers because he does podcasting. Like, getting a job as an NFL insider, more likely because of getting on the NFL network pretty early on, because of chances are your dad's connections to cable networks, negotiating with the CEOs of all over the world. That is more weirder, in my opinion, than someone getting an opportunity in something because their dad did the same thing. It's like chances are they have background knowledge. It is what it is. Get over it. But, yeah. I actually think Brian Niccol, he'd be an interesting interview. Because I remember he did a video for some when he was at Chipotle, when there was a whole portion debacle where people complain about how portions have changed. The dude's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I came into Chipotle, I got a lot of food. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, they saw you're the CEO when you walked in. They're not going to, skimp you. Like, he's like, bro, I got the hookup. The dude literally said, hey, if you just ask for a little, that they're going to hook you up. It's like, nah, they're going to charge you. They're not just going to hook you up. Like, if you just say, hey, keep putting more in there, So that is the out of touch reality. Sometimes these, rich boys get with this stuff. But, there's value. If I could be, if I could be a CEO of one company that already exists, if I could just get one crack at a company right now that I feel like either had glory or has potential to be better where it's at, but it feels stagnated by decisions or just, whatever direction they go to. I'm trying to think. What would be a company that I enjoy, but I feel like could be better if they had some sense of different direction? That's a good question. Like, someone just asked me that. Like, I asked myself the question. I'm answering the question within a question. And I'm questioning why I'm questioning. You know what I would say? I would, damn, that's actually pretty hard. You know what else is hard? Today's sponsor, Seabum, root beer, which is basically like a diet. It basically tastes like diet root beer. Isn't bad, Probably should have prepared this. You know what? If I was in charge of Burger King, how about that? Nah, I don't want to do burger. I would say, What is something? That's the thing. It's really hard to really like on the spot. In companies, because you gotta think about it. It's really about when a place needs change. It's not when the place has never been good. It's when they had something good going, but then they decide to do stuff for labor costs or the time being. And to me, the biggest hurt is when a place stops evolving or being innovative. Like, you want to stay true to the core of who you are, but I do think it's important to, like, keep it interesting for your regulars. All right, I got it. Zaxby's. There. One thing, like, they used to, like, a good 6, 7, 8 years ago, like, every month they would have some kind of cool new sandwich. Like, some sweet and spicy, some chicken parm sandwich. Like, they would change it up. And I think now with a lot of these, even McDonald's to an extent, even though I don't eat McDonald's, I think one of the big issues with these places is they don't really like come out with new items that are interesting. I think the people that are best at this, like Taco Bell, they add shit every couple weeks now. They keep it interesting. It's the same shit, just packaged in a different way, but it's at least different stuff they're trying out. Burger King, I don't really eat Burger King, but it seems like every month they try to at least do some weird shit with some burger, make a purple patty, make a purple bun or some shit. They try to do some that attaches to promotion of a movie, do some insanely habanero spicy shit. They try to do something where Zaxby's and even Chick-fil-A to an extent, like they've had the same menu, but it feels like it's kind of dry. Like, the thing is, if you were going to raise prices and stuff like that, and it doesn't even, there's obviously portion control and stuff like that. The best way to keep people coming back is you got to just create new items that are interesting. I understand you want to keep the menu simple because you don't want to hire people. You want to keep rehiring to a minimum, so you keep the items simple. You keep it as simple as possible for food to get in and out. But you know what? You're going to wait 10 minutes at a lot of these places anyways, so you might as well fucking just make it interesting. There's just a lot of places that they don't really do anything new, and that kind of takes the excitement out of it. Like, you say what you want about Taco Bell, they're fucking throwing shit out. They're throwing shit against the wall, then after 2 weeks, taking it off the menu just to try it out. Like McDonald's, like all McDonald's does now is they just get a celebrity person. They get an Angel Reese, they get a Travis Scott, they get some Bad Bunny, and they just put their name on a combo bundle meal and overcharge you for 2 regular Big Macs, and then they put some barbecue sauce on it, like, oh, $15.99, whoo, Bad Bunny. Now, if you get the Drake one, that's the kids menu. All right, sorry. It comes with a Kendrick toy. That would be funny if you got a value meal. If Drake partnered with McDonald's and the kids meal is a Kendrick toy, and then you press the button and it's just, they not like us. It's like every time you press the button, it's just a line from one of his Drake disses. That'd be kind of fucked up. But hey, to the 9 upside down, it's a 6 now. Or is it the other way around? Oh, I forgot which way he said it. But yeah. Because I would not want to be a CEO of a place that I actually go to every day. I would like Zaxby, but like, I wouldn't be so attached to it. We're like addicted to it. I wouldn't actually want to be CEO of a place that I enjoy going there every single day. I know that sounds good, but then, you don't want to be in charge of the downfall of a company. You actually want to, be there, and you want to be unbiased. Like, I would never want to be the CEO of a Dunkin'. I would never want to own a Dunkin'. Because I enjoy the coffee so much. I enjoy what I get so much. I wouldn't want to be around it all day, create a bigger issue for myself, for my health. And it might make me just not like it as much. So, yeah. But yeah, I think I'll end the show there because I'm tired as fuck. But yeah, that was episode 332 of the Off Beat Podcast with Clint Nelson. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Most support, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to suck some titties. Another 2-hour pod. Yep, this should be out sometime Monday or Tuesday at the latest. So stay tuned. All right. Have a great day, morning, night, evening, and my balls are sweaty. Oh, Jesus.